Hello, welcome back, or welcome to. I never say welcome to. There could be new people listening. The You at Your Best podcast. I'm your host, Morgan. For this week's episode, I want to talk about something that I personally have struggled with a lot. And it's been a really long journey of getting here. And that's discovering, finding, and being your most authentic self. Authenticity is something that happens over time. I think it comes as we get older, as we grow, as we get to know ourselves better. And I'm making this episode today about being your most authentic self, but I could listen back to this in a couple of years and think, wow, I didn't even know myself at all. I feel like I know myself pretty well, and I've grown so much, and I've gotten to know who I am, and I've gotten to a point to where I feel comfortable being my authentic self. But in a couple of years from now, I could be even more comfortable being myself, because me a couple years ago, I did not know myself at all. Looking back, I really did not know who I was, and I felt like I did. So maybe in a couple of years, I'll be like, I didn't know myself whenever I made this episode. But before we get into the episode, I want to say how being your authentic self isn't something that you should overthink. Being authentic means being who we truly believe we are in the current moment, even if in a couple of months, a couple of years, or even a couple of weeks, we realize that that's not true to us. Being who you genuinely believe is true to who you are right now, that's what it means to be authentic. And life is about growing and learning and understanding ourselves. And because of that, we're never going to fully understand ourselves. I think especially with society and how there are certain rules and restrictions for us to be a certain way, it's impossible for us to be 100% authentic, because if we were, we'd probably live in a world full of no rules, and obviously that would not work out very well. But finding authenticity means being yourself and trusting yourself, trusting that who you are is important, and what you have to say is important, what you have to contribute is important, what you believe in is important, but also understanding that there are limits and there are rules in society. And I think being authentic means figuring out which rules matter the most to you, if that makes sense. Like, it's kind of a unspoken social rule to be kind to people, but not everyone's kind. But in my opinion, my authentic self is being kind to people. And someone else's might not be, I don't know, but I feel like most people, whenever we find our true authentic selves, we're all pretty similar. Like, we have our own personal, individual personalities, individual things that we like. But if everyone was authentic, we would probably all be able to get along, because with authenticity also comes emotional intelligence and being able to be yourself without expecting someone else to be like you, and without expecting yourself to change for other people. So I have 15 things on a list that are just kind of being authentic and being the best version of yourself that you can be, at least right now. So for number one, I have, there are many authentic versions of you. I feel like a lot of us, we overthink it and we think, I have to be this one specific way, and that's what authenticity is for me. An example could be, you are usually more laid back and quiet, so you feel like you have to fit yourself into that box and always be laid back and quiet, even though there are times whenever you want to get excited and happy. Being authentic doesn't mean having one individual identity. And also, authenticity can look different depending on the people that we're around. If you're around someone that you're more comfortable with, maybe you're more laid back with them. If you're around someone that you're not as comfortable with, maybe you are more expressive and happy and excited. And that doesn't mean that you're being fake. That just means that you're being a kind person. And that's okay. That's what I mean whenever I say that there's no way that we can be fully authentic, because it wouldn't work in society. Because yes, being authentic is important, and being yourself in a certain way that kind of shows that you are your own person, but also whenever you're around certain people, being kind. And a lot of people say that, like, we're being fake if we are nice to someone that we don't really like or don't really enjoy their company. But in my opinion, being around someone that you don't really enjoy but still being kind to them, that's not being fake, that's being a good person. And a huge part of authenticity is, of course, being your individual self, but whenever you're around certain people, acting in different ways. Like, maybe there's someone who makes fun of a part of who you are, but you still have to be around them, so you just don't act that way around them. And maybe you're a little bit uncomfortable, but you still are nice to them and kind to them and make things work. That's a part of being a mature person. It's not being fake and pretending like you like someone whenever you don't. You can make it obvious that you don't like them if you want to. You can, if they say something really shitty, say something. Of course, if it bothers you enough, but it doesn't make you a bad person or a fake person to be nice to them, even if you don't like them. And I kind of went off on a tangent a little bit there, but whenever I say that there are many authentic versions of you, I mean, you can sometimes be more bubbly and excited and other times be more laid back, and that's still you. You can sometimes enjoy salads and other times hate them, and that's still you. I remember a story actually one time. There was this specific person. I told them that I don't really like salads because at that time I didn't. Like, salads were kind of gross to me, and I go through phases where sometimes I like them and sometimes I hate them. And they were like, but you eat salads all the time, so you're lying to me. And I was like, no, I'm not lying. Right now I don't like salads. I know that's such a random example, but stuff like that is important whenever it comes to authenticity, not putting ourselves in boxes ever. And I know a lot of the time someone can be like, well, I know you so well and I know that you love salads and now you're saying that you don't. And maybe it can make them feel bad about themselves because they feel like they don't know you well enough. But someone can literally think they know you so well, but no one knows you as well as you do. And if you know that you don't like salads right now, then you don't like salads, and that's okay. And you can have different versions of you as you mature. Like, maybe you 2 years ago, you thought that you knew yourself so well, but now you realize that you didn't really know yourself at all. And the ways that you acted then are actually not authentic to who you are. Being authentic doesn't mean we have to know ourselves entirely and we have to be that one specific thing. It means we get to know ourselves and learn about who we are as we grow, but don't put so much pressure on ourselves to know everything about ourselves. I feel like there's this thing where people kind of expect you to know everything about yourself. And sometimes you just don't know. Like, I've heard some people say that sometimes whenever they're in therapy, their therapist tells them that they're not allowed to say, I don't know. But as humans, there's no way that we can know the answer to everything, even about ourselves. Sometimes we don't know why we act a certain way, why we do certain things, but that doesn't mean that we don't know ourselves. That means that we need time to figure that out. And you can't figure everything out about yourself at once. Okay, and then number 2, I've kind of already talked about this, but I have authenticity takes time. Like I said before, it takes an entire lifetime to heal and grow and get to know ourselves. I feel like that's a huge part of why every single one of us is here, because it's a chance to grow your higher self and get to know yourself better. And if you don't want to hear about like spirituality and stuff like that, you can skip this part. But whenever I started kind of going through my spiritual awakening, I started feeling like, what's the point in living this life? Like, just kind of having an existential crisis. Like, there's no point in me even being alive because I'm just going to die and then move on from this life. But everything that we do is important, because it's a chance for our soul to get to know who we are better. It's a chance to grow and upgrade ourselves. And even if I feel like maybe I believe that after this life I'll move on to a next thing or take a break if I need to, I also know that this is still important and this is still me. And it's really depressing and hard to think about that, like, there could be a million lives that I've already lived and maybe this one isn't that big of a deal, but right now it is. This is where I'm at right now. This is my life right now. And whatever you believe, even if you believe that in the future it's all going to be gone, it's still important. You still need to live your life to the best, to the fullest. And I have also been the type of person that's like, if something happens that bothers me and I think I'm being dramatic, I will sometimes kind of try to convince myself that I'm being dramatic and there's no point in it bothering me so much. But if something matters to you, then it's important. If you genuinely enjoy doing something, but it feels like a waste of time, it's not. It's never a waste of time if you love it, if it makes you happy, if it brings you closer to who you are. We, a lot of the time, think of healing as this big thing and you have to grow in ways that are more extravagant. Like, unlearning trauma and stuff like that. And all of that is important, but an important part of healing is also the small things, learning what you enjoy, learning what hobbies work for you, learning that you really like doing something that sounds like a waste of time. Like an example I have is I love going thrifting and then posting hauls of those thrifted things on my Instagram story. And sometimes I think like people are going to think this is so stupid or I'm being so annoying. People are going to look at that and think like, why does this girl care so much? She's trying too hard. But I do it because I love it. Genuinely, I love posting hauls of things that I buy, and I love thrifting. I love showing off the things that I find, and I know there are other people who love that too, and if people don't like it, they can just skip my story and move on. But I like posting that stuff because it makes me happy, and if it makes you happy, it's never a waste of time. Another example I have is the other day I posted a bunch of pictures of my baby's baby book, and after I posted it, I was thinking to myself, should I just delete this? Are people gonna be annoyed at me? Are people gonna think that I'm sharing too much? Are people gonna look at it and think like, why does this girl think I care? And maybe they do, maybe they think that, but I didn't let myself delete it because I knew it made me happy, and I know that there's at least one person who looks at my Instagram story and is excited to see that stuff. We got to stop letting the self-doubt get in the way, because your most authentic version is the version of you that gets excited about things. If something makes you excited, then you need to do it, even if you're anxious about it, even if you think that people might judge you, because if they do, who fucking cares? Like, their opinion does not matter. And people who judge people for doing things that make them happy, those are the worst kind of people. And do you really care about the opinion of someone that is probably miserable? Because I know I don't. I don't want to spend my life trying to be someone that someone else expects me to be just because I saw this thing on Instagram one time, and I can't remember what it said exactly, but it was something along the lines of, we are literally moving, walking meat, being terrified of the opinion of other moving, walking meats. And I know that probably wasn't the best explanation at all. I am the world's worst at summarizing things, but reading that, I was like, that's so true. Like, why do we care so much whenever at the end of the day, it doesn't matter? The only thing that matters is us and our life and what we want to do and what makes us happy. And if it makes other people upset, or if it makes other people get angry or annoyed at us or think that we're cringy, like, who fucking cares? Because they're probably miserable anyways. And most of the time, if someone is saying that we're cringy for something, it's because they know that they won't let themselves do that. And they deep down are jealous that you are so open with yourself that you let yourself do something that you love. And also with me posting on my Instagram story, people could literally not even care. They probably don't. Most people look at it and they're like, okay, and move on if they don't care about it. And if they do care about it, then they get excited and happy to see it. Most people probably aren't thinking, she's so stupid, I can't believe that she posted that, and stuff like that. Most people don't care. Same with if you really want to post a really cute Instagram post, but you're so worried that it's not perfectly edited or you don't look perfect in it, and you get scared to post it. Most people look at that and they're like, oh, that's cute, like it, move on. Some people might comment, most people don't. But people don't care. And if you're being authentic, most people are not going to be upset with you for that. Most people will just be happy for you. Most people will see that you're happy and excited about something, and it'll make them excited too. Most people aren't shitty people who want to put you into a box. And those are the people that you need to care about. Not care about their opinions, not care about what they think about you, not care about if they think that you shouldn't or should be doing something. But having people in your life that are more like that, who don't judge you for things. Okay, and then number 3, I have, you already know who you are. A lot of us overthink it whenever we're trying to be authentic. We think, like I said before, we have to be this specific way. You overthink it so much that you get to the point to where you don't even know the truth because you're acting a certain way, and then you like start questioning it, and it's like, am I being authentic right now, or is this a trauma response, or am I doing something that's not true to me, and you just overthink it so much to the point to where you don't even let yourself experience and live life as the person that you are right now. And I've really struggled with that. It was a huge part with my social anxiety. Like if I act a certain way or say a certain thing and then later on regret it, like what am I supposed to do about that? But being authentic means being yourself right now, doing what you think is right now. And if later you realize that it's wrong, then you can fix that and change that. But stop overthinking it, because you already know who you are. Even if in the future you realize that it's not the right thing, it's not who you want to be, you know who you are in this moment, and that's what's important. Your intuition knows. You know if you think that something is right or wrong. And a huge part of that is listening to your intuition, letting your intuition tell you if something is right or wrong for you. And maybe you get it wrong. Maybe you unintentionally listen to your anxiety instead of your intuition. And that's just a part of the process of learning to listen to your intuition. But that's okay. We got to stop expecting ourselves to be perfect all the time, because that's exhausting. It's okay to mess up. It's okay to make mistakes. That's a huge part of being human, and that's a huge part of being authentic, and that's a huge part of learning who you are. So maybe you say something that you think is right in the moment, and then in a couple of months you think back to it and you think that was the stupidest thing I could ever say. It's okay. It's not the end of the world, and people don't actually care most of the time. If you hurt someone deeply in the past, I know that's something that's so hard to get over. I've experienced that myself. You go through a time where you absolutely hate yourself because you can't believe that you acted the way that you did. And now you know that that's not something that you will ever do. Learning from your mistakes, that's what's important. It's not the fact that you made the mistake. I know it's hard to move on. I know sometimes it feels like you aren't allowed to move on because you hurt someone so bad and you feel like you can't move on until you know that they have. But as hard as it is to say this, the truth is, even whenever we hurt someone, it is not our job to fix them. That is their job. It's their job to heal. It's their job to figure out why that thing hurt them. And of course, we can apologize and listen to them and be there for them. Me saying this is not me saying that you can just pretend like how someone feels doesn't matter because your own experience is all that matters in your head. I'm not saying be selfish. I just mean you're allowed to move on and grow and heal, even if you hurt someone and they haven't moved on or healed yet. I know you feel like you have to stay in this spot until they've grown. I know you feel like you have to let them know how sorry you are. And that is so important, to let them know how sorry you are and to listen to them and understand. But you don't have to hold yourself back just because you feel like you're not allowed to move on from a mistake that you made. And I'm saying that now because I really needed to hear that a couple years ago. I only recently started getting over whenever I really hurt a friend of mine, and I couldn't understand why I kept on acting the way that I did, and I felt like I wasn't allowed to move on or grow because that person could have still been suffering at my hands. Like I could not forgive myself. I could not move on. But it's okay to forgive yourself, even if you made a mistake that you feel like was the worst thing you could ever do on the entire planet, and you don't know if that person will ever forgive you. It's okay to move on. What you did is not okay, and I'm not saying that you just pretend like it doesn't matter, because if you hurt someone, it matters to them and it should matter to you. But I'm just saying you don't have to hold on to that shame and self-hatred and anger towards yourself. You can feel guilty, of course. That's a huge thing. We should let ourselves feel guilty if we do, but don't hold on to it. Let it go. It's okay. And I promise you, letting it go and being there for them will 100% make them feel 10 times better than it will if you feel like you have to constantly defend yourself because you don't want them to think that you're a bad person. What they think is okay. If you fucked up and made a mistake and they think you're a bad person, that's reasonable for them to think that, but that doesn't mean that you have to continue being that bad person, and that doesn't mean that you have to believe that you're a bad person. Do the right thing. Give them space if that's what they need. Apologize if that's what they want to hear. Let them talk to you about how they feel, because that's important. But don't hold on to it, because it's a mistake. You can't change it. As much as you wish you could, you can't. Okay, I did not think that I would be talking about that on here, and I honestly didn't know if I was ready to ever talk about that, because I'm still growing and healing from all of that. Still mourning the fact that I did something that I didn't think was me, something that was so out of character for myself. But it felt good to say it, and it was a good reminder for me too. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get through this whole list because every time I say something, I end up going off on a tangent. But the next one that I have is don't overthink it. And I feel like I've already said this. I've already kind of explained this, so I'm not going to explain it again. I'm just going to go to the next one. It's accepting who you are without judgment. And I feel like I've already said this too. It's okay that you make mistakes. And it's okay if you're not perfect. We're all human, and that's the point of living. That's why we're here, to make mistakes and learn and grow from those mistakes. And in return, grow who we are. Grow our soul, if you believe that. Okay, for number 6, I have what you value and what you don't value. Having experiences that teach you who you are. And this is something that I still struggle with a lot, getting out and making friends, but maybe making friends and putting yourself out there, allowing the chance that you may get hurt or you may accidentally hurt someone else, and just living life and learning from those experiences, learning what you do like, learning what you don't like, learning who you are. And a lot of us hold ourselves back because we're either terrified of getting hurt or we're terrified of hurting someone else. If I'm being completely transparent, a huge part of why I am so scared in friendships and with making friends is because I am so scared that I'm going to hurt someone, like I did a friend before. I'm so scared that I'm going to fuck up again. And that's a very reasonable fear because I don't want to hurt someone in the way that I hurt someone else in the past. But we have to learn from those experiences, and we can't stay away from people out of fear because we're never going to learn who we are without putting ourselves out there and doing what we believe is right now. If we mess up, we can always patch things up with the people that we mess up with. Most people are pretty forgiving, but some of us end up messing up so much that we lose that person, and that's okay too. If you lost someone in the past and they forgave you so many times, but you still kept on messing up and it got to the point to where they just couldn't handle it anymore and they left, it doesn't mean that you're a bad person. It doesn't mean that you're garbage. It doesn't mean that you don't deserve to be here. It just means that you messed up, and you messed up really bad, but you still need to forgive yourself. And from that mistake, for me, I learned the type of friend that I want to be. I learned my values. It taught me so much about myself. And even though I wish it never happened and I wish I didn't hurt someone so deeply, I know that the experience healed me. It helped me learn more about myself and my values and what I want to be as a friend versus what I don't want to be as a friend. For number 7, I have noticing what you like about others versus what you don't like about others. Noticing qualities that people have that maybe you really admire and taking those qualities for yourself. And then also noticing qualities that people have that you don't like. If someone is really unkind and you don't like how they're treating someone, making sure that you don't do that. Even if you're frustrated and overwhelmed, still trying to do the right thing, even in those times that you may be angry at someone. If you see someone yelling at someone because they're so overwhelmed, remind yourself that you don't have to be like that. Learning from other people's mistakes so that we don't act in that way. For number 8, I have listen to your intuition, which I already talked a little bit about. Your intuition knows who you are and what you value. Your intuition knows whenever something is right for you, whenever something isn't right for you. You know, deep down, you know. There's a feeling that's always there, and you know if you will listen. And I know it's way easier said than done. As someone who has dealt with very high anxiety, there have been times where I genuinely didn't know the difference between intuition and my anxiety. And I think that takes a lot of time and personal growth to develop that skill of listening to your intuition. But something that I can say is, yes, whenever you realize that something isn't right for you, that makes you really happy or that you really want to work out, that makes you feel really sad, and you have to mourn that. But at the end of the day, your intuition, it's love. It's your higher self, your soul telling you what is right for you out of love. Kind of look at it as like your parent who genuinely loves you, who sees that you're doing something that is really self-destructive and is trying to talk you down from it. That's kind of how your intuition is. And you know whenever something is right for you, and you know whenever something is wrong for you. But it doesn't mean that you're not going to be scared if you realize that you need to make a change that is really terrifying. It just means that it comes from a place of love, and you know at the end of the day that everything will be okay if you listen to your intuition. Anxiety, it's not like that. With anxiety, you feel shame, guilt, anger, and yeah, you can feel those things with intuition too, but it doesn't feel loving. It doesn't feel like it's coming from someone who genuinely cares about you and genuinely wants the best for you. It feels like it's coming from someone who absolutely hates you and wants you to suffer. And that's the only way that I can say the difference is. And I think some people may hear that and be really overwhelmed and not really understand what that even means. And I get that. I've been there before too. But listening to your intuition and learning to trust your intuition, it just takes time. It takes healing. It takes you making mistakes and learning from those mistakes. And we'll always make mistakes as humans. There will always be times where even if we know ourselves more than we have ever known ourselves and we feel like we know ourselves so well, even then we will still sometimes unintentionally mix up our anxiety and intuition. And that's okay. And for number 9, I have embracing your mistakes, which I already talked about, so I'm not going to talk about it again. For number 10, I have stay true to your boundaries. Boundaries aren't necessarily something that you have to tell someone. Boundaries are very personal and what you feel is important to you. If you don't want to be treated a certain way, for example, maybe you have someone in your life who tries to shame you a lot or tries to tear you down, maybe because they do the same thing to themselves. Of course, you can say to them, I don't want you talking to me like this, if they're important to you. But if they're not someone that is super important in your life, you can just ignore it. Set a boundary with yourself that you're not going to let how this person treats you affect you. You're going to ignore what they say because their opinion doesn't matter. And then also if someone that you genuinely care about says something really mean, telling them about it and saying like, you can't talk to me like that. I'm not okay with that. But boundaries are very personal, and it's not this black and white thing where it's like you have to set boundaries with people all the time. You have to have conversations with everyone. You don't have to have conversations with every person in your life, just the people that are really important and that really matter. And that should be a few people, because there could be people that are important to you, but you can let it slide, like your parents. Your parents are probably really important to you, but you can just learn to ignore what they say and let them heal and grow on their own. But if it's like your partner who says something that really hurts you, that's different. You should say something. So it just depends, and it's very personal. And there could be things with your partner that you let go of because it's not that big of a deal to you that would be a big deal to someone else. Or the opposite, that is a big deal to you but wouldn't be a big deal to other people. Okay, and then number 11, I have let others be themselves. Being authentic means being able to be within our energy without expecting someone else to change theirs, or without expecting ourselves to change for someone else. There are some people who, whenever you're trying to be yourself, they'll get upset at you and say, like, you're so quiet, or you're so loud, or anything like that. They will try to expect you to mold into their energy. And then sometimes there's people that are the opposite who will force themselves to mold into other people's energy because they feel like their energy is never right. I was always more the second one. Being yourself, being who you are, who you feel is the most authentic version of you, while also letting other people be their authentic selves. You don't have to be outgoing and loud if that's not who you are in that moment. Okay, number 12 is owning up to your mistakes. Admitting whenever you're wrong. Don't let your ego get in the way. Don't let your ego decide that you can't admit that you did something wrong, because being authentic means being vulnerable. And yes, it's scary to admit that we're wrong because people could give us backlash. People could say, yeah, I know, I was right, you were wrong. And that's annoying, but admitting it anyways, despite how other people act. Admitting that you messed up, and that's okay. And I don't mean saying to someone, I messed up, but that's okay. That's a very personal thing. You need to know inside that it's okay. But if you hurt someone, for example, don't tell them, it's okay that I did what I did, because that's going to make them feel really unloved and like you don't care. I just mean knowing within yourself that it's okay so that you can act in ways that make them feel loved. Okay, and then for number 13, I have finding hobbies that you love. Really getting to know yourself and understanding what you personally love, what makes you an individual person. That is a huge part of authenticity, and that makes you so much more likable also. Because yes, I feel like as a whole, most people are very similar to other people. Being human and the human experience is so similar for all of us. But that doesn't mean that you can't have your individual things about you that make you different and that you love. If you love reading, if you love psychology like I do, if you love talking and want to make a podcast, being authentic to you means finding things that you personally love without thinking about other people. Like, I know there are so many people, and this is something that I have never understood. People who get upset at you for liking something that they like because they're like, that's my thing. I never got that. I don't get why it matters so much, because if it's authentic to you and it's your thing, someone else doing that same thing doesn't mean that you're doing it wrong. Doesn't mean that they're better than you. I feel like a lot of people are like this because it's like a competition in their head. They're like, you copy me and you do everything that I do. When reality is that person they could easily be copying you, but they also could be, they could easily be copying you. And I get why that's hard to deal with, but you know that you're being authentic and you're being your true self, so it shouldn't matter. But a lot of the time, people, like, say you have a friend who starts liking something that you like, and you're like, that's my thing. Like, you have a specific artist, like say you really love Taylor Swift, and you had a friend who didn't really like Taylor Swift and then all of a sudden starts liking Taylor Swift. That's okay. They're allowed to start liking Taylor Swift. They're allowed to start enjoying the things that you enjoy that they used to not enjoy. I know it can hurt sometimes because it's like, I wanted you to enjoy this with me, and this is my thing, and it feels like they're taking it from you. But if it's authentic to you, then that's all that matters. It can be your thing, and it can also be someone else's thing, and that doesn't mean that it's less yours. Okay, and then I have for number 14, being vulnerable. Being open about the things that you struggle with. Being vulnerable is scary, and it's hard to talk about the things that we struggle with because there's a chance that people could make fun of us, they could use it against us. And I think it is important to protect ourselves from that kind of stuff and maybe not talk about something until you've processed it a little bit more. But it's okay to share things that you struggle with, and if people use it against you, it only hurts you if you let it hurt you. Being vulnerable, despite what other people might say or might think, that is so brave and the most authentic that you can be. So do it. Be vulnerable. Talk about the things that you struggle with, despite the fact that people may try to use it against you, because people can only use things against you if you let them. Okay, and then the last one I have, number 15, is having self-respect. Having self-respect means respecting yourself to know that you will not accept someone being unkind to you, hurting you consistently, whether that means that you have a very personal boundary with yourself or you set a boundary with them. You will always listen to how you feel. And if something doesn't feel right to you, if you keep on consistently getting hurt by someone's behavior, doing something about it. Having self-respect means not letting people walk all over you, not letting people dictate your worth, not letting people treat you like you are not valuable. Okay, and that's all I have for this week's episode. I was thinking about doing a journal prompt, but I feel like I'll just end up like saying a list and kind of saying something that I say all the time, so I don't really have a specific journal prompt for this week, unless you want to just like write down what authenticity means to you. Write down your values. Could also just start journaling, just start writing, brain dumping, and that's a great way to figuring out who you are. If something bothers you, start writing about it. If something makes you really happy, start writing about that, and it helps you figure out what it is that made you happy or made you upset. But I guess that was the journal prompt. That's it for this week's episode. I really hope you enjoyed it, and if you could, please leave me a 5-star review on Spotify, leave me a review on Apple Podcasts, share my podcast with people that you think it would help, share it on your Instagram story. Put good energy out there so that you can receive good energy. If you have any questions you want to ask me, I still have that Google form up. I'm not getting as many questions as I thought I might, so I might just like make specific episodes based off of the questions that people ask, but just go on there, submit questions. Again, it's completely anonymous. You don't have to say your name if you don't want to. Thank you so much for listening. I really appreciate you listening. You have no idea how much I appreciate the very tiny amount of people that listen to my podcast, who continue to support me, continue to like my stories, continue to show me that they care. I see you all, and I'm so grateful. Thank you so much for listening. I will see you next Sunday.